In April 2026, an actress posted one sentence. Diana Ross had been cut from a Michael Jackson movie, not edited down, removed entirely. The question nobody is asking is why a woman he once called family keeps disappearing from his story. The actress was Kat Graham. She had spent months preparing, filming days, costumes, scenes with other cast members. Then, for days before the film's release, she posted a short statement. Certain legal considerations, she wrote, had affected a few scenes, including one she had filmed. Those moments were no longer part of the final cut. Diana Ross, gone. From a film about the man who once said she was a person he could tell anything to. You are watching Celebrum Secrets. I am Celebrum Secrets. This channel exists to find the parts of these stories that the headlines skip, and this is one of those parts. This is not the first time Diana Ross has gone quiet about Michael Jackson. It is, by now, a pattern. And at 82 years old, having just watched her own scenes vanish in the story of his life one more time, that pattern says more than any interview could. To understand what just happened in April 2026, you have to go back to July 1968. The Jackson 5 arrived at Motown Records in Detroit. 5 brothers from Gary, Indiana, the youngest barely 10 years old. Diana Ross, 24, was already one of the biggest stars on the planet as the lead singer of the Supremes. Motown's publicity machine presented her as the person who discovered them. The actual story, according to multiple biographers, involves other people inside Motown, but the version that stuck, the version that became myth, was Diana Ross and the Jackson 5. For young Michael, the myth became something closer to reality. He lived with her for a period of time. His mother, Katherine Jackson, later wrote that Michael began calling Ross Mama, not as a joke, not as a stage bit for cameras, in private, repeatedly, across years. And here is where it gets genuinely strange. By 1983, in a magazine interview, Michael Jackson described Diana Ross as somebody to tell anything to, the most private of secrets, his words, and said she told him her secrets in return. A year later, in another interview, when asked directly whether his feeling for her went beyond friendship, he said yes. He said he wanted to marry her. When the interviewer pointed out the 14-year age gap, his response was a question. How old would you be if you didn't know how old you are? That is not the language of a mentor relationship. That is not mama anymore. Something had shifted, and the person it shifted toward had gone in the span of about 15 years, from someone he called mother to someone he said he wanted to marry. In 1981, according to multiple documented accounts from people close to both of them, Michael Jackson's engagement ended, and by most accounts, Michael was devastated by it. For years later, Diana Ross, who wrote about it in his own memoir, was written in Michael's own words with Diana Ross in mind. The one great love. Jermaine quoted him as saying, "That got away." Listen to that song with that context in mind. Listen to the lyrics about a love that exists now only in memory. Special times that go on, but only in the back of his mind. That is not a song about a stage mother. That is not a song about a mentor. Whatever the precise nature of what existed between Michael Jackson and Diana Ross, and full nature of it has never been definitively confirmed by either party. It was significant enough, painful enough, and unresolved enough that it shaped one of the most successful songs of his career. You are probably thinking that all of this is old history. Interesting, but disconnected from a film that just came out in 2026. Stay with it, because the pattern is not in the history. The pattern is in what happens every time someone tries to tell this history publicly. During that period, one of the most difficult of his life, reporters asked Diana Ross for comment. According to documented accounts from that time, she declined to discuss the allegations directly. Her response, when pressed, was a short, careful sentence. She was about as famous as she would like to be. Read that sentence again. It is not a denial. It is not support. It is not condemnation. It is a woman who had spent decades being publicly linked to Michael Jackson, called his mama, rumored to be his almost wife, credited as his discoverer, choosing at the moment when his life was most publicly under siege to say almost nothing at all. That silence was not cruelty. People who have studied Diana Ross's career describes someone who has, across 7 decades in the public eye, been remarkably consistent about protecting her privacy, declining to feel surreal, an honor, a role she had never imagined for herself. She filmed her scenes. The production moved forward. And then, in the final stretch before the April 24th, 2026 release, something happened that already happened once before with this film. A legal issue forced a removal. Months earlier, the production had already cut an entire storyline involving a 1993 lawsuit against Jackson after the estate discovered a settlement agreement that legally prevented its dramatization. That removal had required reshooting the film's entire third act. Now it was happening again. This time, the casualty was Diana Ross. Kat Graham's statement did not specify what the legal considerations actually were. She simply confirmed that scenes she had filmed, scenes with, in her words, an incredible cast, were no longer part of the final film. The team, she said, had worked hard to preserve as much of the story as possible without them. What story, exactly, required Diana Ross, and then could not include her? Here is what makes this moment different from 2005. In 2005, Diana Ross chose her silence. She was asked a direct question, and she gave a careful, minimal answer. The choice was hers. In April 2026, the choice was not hers. An actress hired to portray her spent months preparing for a role, filmed the scenes, and then watched those scenes get removed by legal teams for reasons that were never fully explained to the public, and quite possibly were never fully explained to the actress herself. Diana Ross did not choose to be cut from this film. Someone else made that decision. Somewhere in a legal department, weighing risk against story, and the result was the same outcome as followed this relationship for decades. Diana Ross, present in the story of Michael Jackson's life in every way that matters, and absent from the official record of it. This is a gap. This is what the title of this video points toward. Not Diana Ross choosing, finally, to speak about Michael Jackson directly in some new interview. There is no documented record of that happening in 2026. What has spoken, in the loudest possible way, is the absence itself. A woman who shaped one of the most important relationships of his life, removed, again, from how that life gets told. At 82, Diana Ross continues to perform at the highest level. She closed out the Met Gala in May 2025 in a gown with an 18-foot train embroidered with the names of her children and grandchildren, a literal tapestry of the family she built. She headlined New Year's Eve television in Times Square at the end of 2025, performing for a global audience with the same command she has carried for 7 decades. Her life, in every documented sense, is full, ongoing, and entirely her own. And in the middle of all of that, in April 2026, a film about a man who once called her his mama, who once said he wanted to marry her, who wrote one of his most enduring songs about losing her, came out in theaters around the world. And she was not in it, not because she asked to be left out, because someone decided, for reasons that remain undisclosed, that her presence was a risk the production could not carry. What does it mean that the woman Michael Jackson once described as a person he could tell his most private secrets to and who told him hers in return has now been written out of his official story not once, but in a way that echoes a much older pattern of near silence? Maybe it means exactly what it looks like, that some relationships are too complicated, too tender, too entangled with other people's legal interests to ever be told cleanly. Michael Jackson spent his life being defined by other people's versions of him. The tabloids built one version. The trials built another. The biopics, with their reshoots and their cut scenes and their legal departments, are now building yet another. And even this version, the one made with his own family's nephew in the lead role, could not find a way to include the person who might have understood him better than almost anyone outside his immediate family. Diana Ross has never, in any documented interview, given a full account of what Michael Jackson meant to her. He spoke about her constantly, admiringly, longingly, gratefully. She, by comparison, has said remarkably little. That asymmetry has existed for 50 years. It existed in 1968, when the myth of her discovering the Jackson 5 was built. It existed in 1984, when he told an interviewer he wanted to marry her, and she said nothing publicly in response. It existed in 2005 when reporters asked her about his trial, and she gave them 11 careful words. And it existed in April 2026, when an actress hired to play her had to be the one to tell the world that her part in the story had been removed. If there's a version of the story where Diana Ross finally does speak, fully, on her own terms, about what 58 years of connection to Michael Jackson actually meant to her, it has not happened yet. What has happened, again and again, is the opposite. The world keeps trying to tell this story without her words. And every time it tries, something about her ends up missing from the final cut. That gap between how much he said about her and how little she has ever said about him is not just a footnote to Michael Jackson's biography. It might be one of the most honest things anyone has ever accidentally revealed about both of them. If this story made you think differently about how Michael Jackson's relationships have been told, and about who gets to control which parts of a life make it into the official record, there is another side to this that very few people have looked at closely. Jermaine Jackson's own account of Remember the Time raises a question that this video has only touched on. What else did Michael tell his brothers privately that has never made it into any film, any biography, any official version at all? That story, what was said inside the family, away from every camera, is where this one leaves off.